Hello everyone and welcome to my next Let's Play of a game called Original War. Now, I'm going to just go through a little history lesson thing before we actually start about the company and just a little bit about the game. And I'll let the game itself explain the rest because I would go crazy trying to properly explain this in the way that made sense. Now, as you can tell on the bottom, it was made in 2001, developed by Ultra Interactive, and published by Virgin Interactive. Now, Ultra Interactive made a couple games, most notably this and the UFO series, which is, you know, like UFO Aftermath, UFO Afterlight, UFO... I forget the last one, but they made those over the span of about a decade or so, and they later got taken in by Bohemia Interactive. Now, which pretty much everybody knows for the Arma series. Now, as you can guess by them being taken in by Bohemia Interactive, they're not a company that's from the more populated sections of Europe or the US at all, because they were actually a Czech Republic company that originally made this game in Czech and eventually remade this game in English. Now, as you can guess, by 2001, there wasn't really Steam or Gamersgate or all of these websites that cover every single game that comes out on the market, so besides the fact of it being made originally in Czech by a Czech Republic company, they really didn't have any sort of marketing whatsoever. So basically, everybody I've talked to has never heard of this game before. So, if you've heard of this game, you're very special. But we'll go right into it, and there are two campaigns: the American campaign and the Russian campaign, which, as it says here, is recommended to take out a second one, and I will. Now, you may be saying, oh, it's, you know, Soviet Cold War kind of thing. Not really, actually. As is exampled by the monkey man with a gun strapped to his back, with the group of regular soldiers in the picture. And past this, I will let the cutscene explain more of the story. I will say that I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty because I've played most of the game before. I haven't actually completed it before. And I'm also doing a special challenge, which is something that I've usually done when playing this game because it's me. But I'll explain that later down the line when the particular game mechanic that focuses around becomes involved. And one last thing before we click on this, I apologize for this coming up, but if I move the cursor like this, you can see it start to do flashing, as you can see right there. But I put this on the screen and it gets removed. Same case for when I move the screen in the game. So if that ever comes up, I apologize, and if you ever see me just wiggling the screen a little bit, that would be why. But enough of me talking, let's have the game talk. As soon as it
When
loads.
they told me about the mission, I thought they were crazy. We've all heard stories about time travel, but here were these guys, scientists and top brass, telling me we could do it for real. But they weren't crazy. They had seen Eon. Eon was discovered here, in the wastelands of Siberia during the First World War. Luckily, the guy who found it was one of ours, U.S. Major John Peters. He got it shipped back home where it was classified top secret and taken to Area 51. Our scientists had little problem working out how to start it up, and they found that objects placed inside it simply disappeared. After experiments with radioactive isotopes, the scientists finally uncovered the machine's purpose. The Eon is a time machine. The implications are incredible. In Eon, we have the potential to erase every tragedy from our history. But though we knew what the machine could do, we were unable to use it. The fuel in Eon was never analyzed, and it was used up in the experiments. More didn't exist. Until now. Until we discovered Cyberite. This compound contains elements that have never been seen before. When it was first discovered in Siberia, the geologists feared it was radioactive because it felt warm to the touch. Gingerly, they passed the Geiger counter over it, but they didn't even hear it crackle. Back at the lab, they immersed a small piece of it in a beaker of cold water. The water boiled so furiously it almost exploded, shattering the beaker. The Cyberite fragment sat in the middle of the debris unchanged, unaffected. In the presence of Cyberite, the hydrogen atoms had fused to form helium and released incredible energy in the process. In our hands, we have the catalyst for cold fusion, and more power than mankind will ever need. There's only one problem. Reserves are buried deep in the ground in Siberia, Russia. That's when I was assigned the Mission Globe Mine. Our first task was to extract enough Cyberite to power the Eon for several journeys. Our second task was a little more complicated. The Earth looked pretty different then. The journey from Siberia to Alaska could be made by land, and that would be our task, to mine the incredible reserves of Cyberite and transport them to Alaska. It'll take the rest of our lives, but when this day comes around again, the Cyberite will belong to America. Departure commences any moment. There are 20 soldiers ahead of me, but that doesn't mean they'll be arriving first. The Eon produces a scattering effect, so we may end up miles apart and divided by several years. The only thing worth knowing about the Eon is that it's a one-way ticket. That's why they chose someone like me, loyal to the job and my country, with no living relatives, nothing, and no one that can't be left behind. Then, last night I met her, Sergeant Joan Ferguson. She's on the support crew here and won't be coming with us. I feel as if I've known her all my life. Just my luck. I finally meet the right woman, and it's 2 million years too late. It's too late to turn back now. I'm entering the Eon. My life in this time is about to end, and a new one will begin a long, long time ago.
Group 9, prepare now. Donaldson, Williams, McMillan, Sikorsky, Phillips, Grant. Go to Eon.
So, this is it.
I'm going to miss you, John.
Maybe you could get transferred.
My work's here.
I know that. I just wish we'd met some other time.
Oh, maybe we will. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too.
And so, that was the story. Very involved in time travel, to the point where we are basically stealing something from someone before that someone even exists. And this is the game, and this is our character. We'll have many more characters throughout the game. Now, this game is very micromanagement intensive once we get further into the game, or the point that I can do this. I can raise and lower the game speed basically at will. I usually have it on this speed for regular, and if I'm waiting for something to happen, I'll speed it up, but I'll lower it to this in the micromanagement intensive parts, because this game, well, I'll wait until a couple more things come up that the game will explain.
If you want to quit, quit now. You ain't got the balls, we don't want you going.
So what the hell are the women doing here?
We may have less between our legs than you, but a hell of a lot more between the ears, Sikorsky.
Now, we can actually not enter the Eon and instead stay in this time with Jean. So, just for posterity's sake, let's see what happens.
This may be the last entry I make. This morning, CNN announced the Russians reached Indianapolis. We have to evacuate while we can. Being with Joan, having a family has meant everything to me. But each morning, I've woken up wondering if I betrayed the future of mankind for my own happiness. Now I think I know the answer.
Sorry about that, I had an itch while doing the cutscene, and as we can see, Jean here is actually very important to changing the timeline.
When they told me about the mission,
Without him here, the timeline actually stays the same. So, basically, if he ever dies throughout the game, it's automatically game over. Because, as we saw, without him, nothing changes. But let's just get over here and continue on and go back to the future.
Everybody ready? If you want to quit, quit. So
back to the future. Back forward to the past. That's what I was looking for.
one more step and no more 21st century. It's gotta be a good move.
Back to the future. Sheesh. So we are now... I didn't get to read the number in time to remember.
What a place. Untouched since the dawn of time. And not a tourist for 2 million years. This is Lieutenant John McMillan reporting for duty. Alpha, do you read me? Come in, Alpha. This is Lieutenant McMillan. Alpha, do you...
Get off the radio now.
Thanks for the welcome. Who?
You heard me, soldier. Shut up and move.
Identify yourself.
This is your last warning. If you want to live, get your head down and get out. You want to die, then stay right there.
Shit. What is this?
Well, this is interesting. Mission objectives are to survive. We come in here and suddenly we're being told to go away. But let's get down.
the signal comes from the hill. Quick, before he moves.
And hide from whatever is coming after us. Wanted to click on the guy to see his name.
The bastard is gone.
So they kind of have a Russian-y accent, and they kind of have stereotypical Russian names. Example, well, it's not that guy, the other one's further back. Example, Ivanov. Because that's...
Identify yourself.
Don't hurt me.
I'm not gonna hurt you, buddy. Just tell me your name and what's going on.
Corporal Bobby Brandon, sir.
What happened?
I don't know anything, sir. I just stepped into the Eon. The next thing I knew, I was here and being shot at.
Who were they?
I didn't wait to find out. I was just trying to stay alive.
You're hurt pretty bad. We gotta get you some treatment.
Go ahead, call 911.
We'll get you to Alpha Base. They'll patch you up there.
I'm on it. Yes?
So, we now have Bobby Brandon. And as you can see, he's kind of hurt. So we kind of need to be careful with him. Now, I will say that there are certain characters, for example, John, obviously, but,
Yes?
you know, like Bobby Brandon, well, not most, but a lot of characters have their own...
Listen up. There are 3 of you in the area. Form a group and head northeast. Repeat, head northeast. We'll try to get you out.
What is going on here? Who's attacking us?
Stick to the long grass and avoid the roads, or you'll be seen.
I said, what the hell is going on here? Who are you?
I'm Commander Powell, and if you make it to Alpha, you're in deep shit, soldier. I told you not to use the radio. The enemy's tracing your signal. Use this frequency again and you're dead.
So, anyway, as I was saying, I'm just gonna close these hints that pop up. Basically, anybody who has a specialized voice acting, you know, like John or
Yes?
Bobby or those characters that we saw
Yes?
before we went into the Eon,
I've done it.
who are going to pop up later. They're all going to be around. And there's a Russian vehicle.
I've
It's
done it.
kind of why I stood here, because I remembered that was there.
I'm
But
on it.
all of them are actually going to be pertinent to the story at some point in time. They can die, but if they are actually missing the
Head
story,
north now. We're sending a search party over.
or well, the story and the dialogue will change ever so slightly because that person is missing.
Don't listen to them. It's a trap. Continue northeast. I repeat, northeast.
Let's not make radio contact. Just
I'm
do what the
on it.
commander wants. But anyway, that's something that I thought was really interesting, especially from over a decade ago.
What's your name, soldier?
Cirrus Parker, sir. The bastards really dropped us in it, huh? Head northeast. Great grid reference. I don't think so.
The lieutenant has a compass.
It's all the info we've got for now, so let's use it.
Yes? Yes,
So, we now have
Yes?
Cyrus Parker, which, as you can tell, has a different voiceover, which means he will also be pertinent to the story at some point. I think there's a select few people who have custom voiceovers that aren't actually really important, but it's still nice to keep around because it kind of gives the game personality. There is a generic. I'm going to save real quick because in an RTS game, that's something you do a lot, especially in this one. There is a generic voiceover that will just be for all characters that aren't actually plot important at all, and if they die, there's literally no difference because they're just randomized characters.
It's a trap. Shit, I should have known.
Now, as you can tell, that was a trap. And as you saw there, when Bobby reached into the red, he actually fell over. And now he's dead, and if we somehow completed the level, he would be dead forever. There would be no more Bobby Brandon, and any iterations of the story that would have had him in there are now altered because he is not there. But let's not go to the trap and go this way.
Yes?
Wow.
Now,
Made it.
let's have these guys go ahead, just in case we find anything, so that way Bobby doesn't end up getting shot, because he's pretty close to the red. Which, if they're in the red, I didn't actually get to finish explaining this, if they're in the red, they will actually start to bleed out, and if they don't get medical attention, they will actually die, just by themselves, instead of getting shot at.
Americans here. We need help.
Let's go, boys!
Let's go
Sir,
kick some
yes,
butt.
sir.
So,
Made it.
now we're getting shot
Yes?
at. Let's
I'm
get
on it.
Bobby
I'm
back
on it.
up there. Let's have them shoot at Cyrus, that's fine, he can take it. He's a big boy.
Soldiering skill just increased.
Let's shoot him dead. As you saw, the enemies suffer from the same
I'm on
problem
it.
we do. They fall over, they're
Made it.
dead forever. Or fall over, they can't do anything, and they bleed out. Now, we got medal for saving everybody. The first medal is just you've completed it, and then there's the bonus objectives, and there's also the you didn't load a save game, which is just doing the entire level in one run, which I'll probably never get the thing of, because yeah. Now, as you also can see here, we're now at the award experience page, which this is where the game gets a bit RPG-y like, where every character has persistent skills: soldiering, engineering, mechanic, and science. We'll want John for now just to pull up his soldiering. That means he does more damage and I think has more health than Cyrus. That as well. These little squares are there to say that they'll automatically get a level up if you dump the experience that they get into that. As you can see, they get, for completing the level, they get a little bit across the board, and then you can actually put a portion of that into whatever you want. Now, Bobby is actually a good mechanic, and mechanics, especially when you get later into the game, are extremely important to have at a high level, so we are leveling up his mechanic skill, because we're not going to have him soldier that much. At the start of the game a little bit, and it'll get a soldier level or two from being there and shooting, but other than that, we'll want to level him up like that now. And we're going to do that for most of our characters the further we go, because, as you can guess, invalid file name. Apparently the game crashed before starting the next level. So, when we come back, we will be at the next level, hopefully.